Happy Friday. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, this works. I'm trying a different room, and the camera work is a little weird on this app, so I'm still playing around with it. So, thanks for your patience and understanding. Hopefully, you've had a good week. Always an adventure every week. It always gives us opportunities to do all kinds of fun stuff. Just want to highlight a few things that's going on around the Breakfast Leadership Network. Specifically, some things that I've noticed. Actually, one of them that comes top of mind is, especially if you're a bigger organization, if you're not aware of this, Microsoft is increasing its licensing fees starting November 1st. And depending on the size of your organization, you might be looking at a 14% increase in your licensing cost with our good friends from Redmond, Washington. And for most of us, especially right now, with everything costing more because of the economy, tariffs, you name it, um, our spending is getting weaker and weaker pretty much every minute. Even this morning, I saw a headline that there's additional tariffs coming from the current administration. So I didn't look into it to see what that's all about yet, but it's obviously going to impact some of us, if not everybody. So, but I keep it apolitical in this place. I don't bring it up. I have often said that both parties, or all parties, quite frankly, because there are parts of the world that have multiple parties, all have decent ideas and other ideas that you question. And it doesn't matter who is, the leading administration. There's still a lot of things that we'd rather have done than they are. But again, I try to keep as neutral or as Switzerland as I possibly can on that because I have colleagues and friends and clients that are on both sides of the aisle, and I love you all. So I just try to take a step back and go, all right, that's good. But needless to say, with this increase coming from Microsoft in November, it's concerning. So I do have a partnership with an organization that can help with that, to help you lock into a rate for the next 36 months. So if you're interested, just DM me. You know how to find me, either on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, or you can send an email to support@breakfastleadership.com. Just say Microsoft in there, and then we'll get back to you. Line up a brief chat and see what the situation is, and hopefully can get you to save some of those dollars so you can spend it elsewhere, which is always good. Another thing that I want to bring up too is, I've been having a lot of conversations on the show lately about culture, workplace culture, um, engagement, employee satisfaction, or the lack thereof, quite frankly, and all of that. So, launching a community to address that, because one of the things, unfortunately, and I say this with love, of course, not everybody is lined up or geared to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, you may hate your job, you may despise it, you may have a really bad boss, a bad environment, you name it. There could be all kinds of different things. But the problem is, not everybody can do or run their own business. You can't do it alone. I wouldn't recommend that. You definitely want to have a team, and as the saying goes, hire before you're ready. And I know sometimes that's hard, especially when cash flow ain't flowing or it's not covering enough and you need it to. Um, it's kind of counterintuitive in a way to say, well, okay, I need to bring in additional people. But what I found, and I've learned this the hard way, of course, like many of us, is there are things that I am not good at. I know that. So I have somebody else that is good at that, that likes doing it, do it. And I think that's something that we all would benefit from. So if you're interested, want to take a peek, just go to community.breakfastleadership.com, and you can pick up a copy of the workplace culture book that I released not too long ago for $7. I think it's $20 or something like that on Amazon. So it saves you a few bucks for a PDF copy of it. And then from there, you can join the community. If you have questions about that, again, just reach out to me on social media. Any questions or comments or filthy remarks, as an English professor said to me in English class way back when. I use that a lot. It's like questions, comments, filthy remarks. Feel free to use that. I think it needs to be shared more. And if somebody does drop a filthy remark to you, celebrate them for having the courage to swear at you. Uh, a couple things too from the show this week, and I made some notes over here. Um, Again, I've had a lot of conversations around workplace culture, and burnout, and all these things are intertwining. And it's funny. And again, I apologize on the camera kind of zooming out. I think there's a setting that I can adjust on that. I'll play with that later because if you're getting motion sickness, I apologize for that. I did not know that grab all has to be um, a thing for this. So I find it going back and forth. So the digital camera, man, or I don't know if this is using AI or not, but I need to fire the AI cameraman because the zoom ins are causing me a little motion sickness myself, and I normally don't have that. So I, again, apologize. It's the joy of live, ladies and gentlemen. It's currently 10:05 Eastern Daylight Time. Things, yeah, Daylight Time. Yeah, we haven't had that switch over until November. Aren't they saying they're supposed to be getting rid of it? Same thing like, oh, we're going to be getting rid of the IRS too. Where's that at? Anyway, I said I wasn't going to get political, but okay, just calling it as it is. But the show this week, I've had some really interesting conversations, actually in the last couple weeks. And be sure to check it out on all your favorite platforms, YouTube included, because if you want the video version of it, there's that. And then usually have some snippets on social media, TikTok or Instagram, sometimes YouTube as well. Just little snippets of the conversations. I'm really, really thrilled. And I actually had a meeting the other day with somebody, and we were talking about my show, and they asked, okay, well, how many episodes do you have? Because the good colleague of theirs had just started a podcast. I said, well, we just passed 900, and they looked at me like I had three heads. Like 900? You have 900 episodes? Yeah, it's like I think 910 now or something close to that. I don't I lost count. The only reason I know it's 900 is my podcast host says, "Hey, congratulations on publishing 900 episodes." Oh, thanks, appreciate that. I when you're you know how life goes by really fast. The last 8+ years of me doing that show has gone by really fast, and it's hard to keep track of all the wonderful conversations I've had. And when people ask me, what episode should I focus on? And, I, of course, jokingly say all of them because I, want people to listen to all of them because there are some great stories. But there are some that jump out a little bit more than others, depending on what you're looking for. I've been very fortunate to interview from people that were daughters of assassins to NASA astronauts to former conductors to billionaires to you name it. Um, I'll be interviewing an executive VP or former executive VP for one of the gigantic movie studios in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to that conversation because I know they work directly with the likes of Steven Spielberg and all the people that we know and love, and they've given a ton of our money to. I'm really interested in that conversation, so stay tuned for that, and I'll make sure to mention that on the live once that drops. But again, when I decided I want to do these lives again, because I did them before for a little bit, but the reason why I wanted to do them is just open it up. And like I said, right now I'm not looking at chat and stuff because I'm having a conversation, mano a mano, you and me, and maybe a couple other people, or maybe there's more. I don't know. I don't know how many people are watching right now or how many will. But whoever's watching right now, I think you're supposed to be watching right now because the universe lined us up. It's tough out there. It's the economy is not great. You might be looking for a job, or maybe you're in a job that you don't like and you want to look for a job, but you're not finding anything. The other day, I was looking just out of curiosity. I looked on LinkedIn, and you see all of these roles, like executive role, CEO, and things like that for startups or nonprofits or whatnot. And they'll have the bullet list item that when it goes past like 30 bullets, that's not cool. So HR, you need to stop doing that, please, because it's like, okay, what don't you want me to do? Why don't you do that? What don't you want me to do? And they're asking these executive candidates to do everything. Um, so I decided, I'm gonna look up because one of the things that comes up all the time is you're the executive, you're the visionary, you're supposed to do everything you're supposed to do and direct the business and grow and all that kind of good stuff. But then they want you to be the chief fundraiser and also do the social media and also do the hiring and also so there's like six positions that they want you to do, and you're going to fail at it, and the board's going to be upset you're not good because they're asking you to do six things that should be done by six different people. And I know the excuse. I worked in nonprofit for a long time, so I know the excuses. Well, we don't have the funds. Well, guess what? For profit, many companies don't either, um, Because if fundraising is your biggest thing, this is my recommendation to the board. If you're on a board or you know a board and you're looking to hire your first CEO or executive director, and you want them to do all those things, grow the business, all that stuff, and fundraise as well, don't hire an executive director yet. Don't hire a CEO yet. Go hire the best fundraiser you can afford. Fundraise like crazy, get some wins, get some dollars in the house. Then you can look at hiring somebody to direct things. Because if you're asking your director to direct and then all of a sudden pull off to the side to do some fundraising, you're not going very far. And that's why you see so many organizations fail, is because you're trying to have these people do way too much. That's why people are burning out. These organizations are having people do way too much, and they wonder why the quality isn't any good. No kidding. Their quality isn't good because you're having them do too many things and they can't focus and deep focus on doing something right. They don't have enough time. It's like good enough. If a restaurant is okay and they're not putting out quality, that restaurant's going out of business. More than half of the internet startup companies from 5 years ago are gone. More than half of the Fortune 500 companies from the year 2000 are gone. So when the biggest companies on the planet, half of them are no longer here, just a quarter century later, if you think your business is going to survive that, don't think about it. Canada, for example, there's a retail company, Hudson's Bay Company. They've been around since the 1600s. They're gone. Why? Myriad of reasons why. They were tone deaf to the changing marketplace, and leases were too much. Aging population, younger generations were like, "Why would I order from there? I'll just order online or do something like that." They didn't adapt. Just like if you remember Sears, Sears didn't adapt. I remember speaking on my show years ago with Carl Gold, and one of the things he mentioned to me, we talked about Sears. And if you're my age, or maybe a little bit younger, you probably remember the Sears Wish Book. That thing was amazing. Of course, the toys were in the back, so we never looked at the front because it sells all clothes and appliances and Kenmore products and whatever. But back was the toys. That was the bomb. And we used it. My brother and I used it as basically our wish list. That's why they called it the Wish Book, conveniently named. So we would just dog ear the pages, circle what we wanted for gifts for Christmas, and our parents would then secure it, and they'd order it through Sears, over the phone, or they'd go in the store and put the order in through that way. So Sears was the original Amazon. They could have easily adapted. I'm not saying it would have been easy, but they could have adapted their system and dominated the market because they already had kind of the framework already there. But Amazon came in and started off as a bookstore and then stole everybody's lunch. Why? Because they weren't ready for it. And the market was, none of the vendors were not. That's why you see a lot of those companies like Sears, for example, non-existent. And it's unfortunate, but we see it time and time again. So as an entrepreneur, you need to make sure that you are focusing on what you can do, offload the rest. I know there's shiny object syndrome or shiny object disease, excuse me. That is a phrase I hear a lot because you think, oh, I got to do this. Okay, I got to put my videos on TikTok. Okay, I got to be here. I got to do that. Oh, wait a minute. What about AI? Oh my God, how do I use AI? I'm going to subscribe to all the AI things and not implement any of them, but I've got all the subscriptions. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How's that working out for you? Probably not. And I interviewed somebody the other day too. That's why it's so important to watch and listen to my show because there's so many nuggets of great things in there. I love it. I take notes all the time. Of course, I'm using digital technology to keep track of the notes, so I don't have to literally write them down. But a lot of times I do. But one of the things that they had mentioned is with AI, if you want to implement AI in your organization, people make the mistakes. Okay, we're just going to have AI automate all the bad habits and lack of policies and procedures we have. So now you have an AI version of crap. Great. No, you have to invest some time. And everybody says, we don't have time. I'm like, well, how many hours are you spending on your iBinky? How many hours are you watching all your streaming services? You got time. You got time. So you got to do a deep dive and figure out, okay, how do we do things around here? What are the things we work on? What are we delivering? Who are we delivering to? So you have to really kind of do a deep dive into the organization and go, how do I do this? And once you do that, then ultimately figure out, okay, this is how we can potentially automate some things. And I've done a lot of work with AI over the last, I want to say years, but it has been actually, it's been a few years now, which is again alarming that it's already almost the end of September and we're looking at Q4 and of course 2026 rapidly approaching. So start your planning now. Uh, but for me, I use AI as a, okay, what can I do to streamline some of the things so I can deliver things to you faster and more effectively and efficiently, and still give you the information and the tools that you need to live your ideal life. That's all I'm here for, really. I mean, I'm sure here I'm here for other things too, but for me, I want people to be their best. Why? Because when you are at your best, you're making the best products and services wherever you work and whatever you make that we all benefit from. When you're stressed, you're burned out, you're working in a toxic workplace, micromanaging, you name it, it's robbing society. And society needs to step up and start demanding an end to all the shenanigans that have been going on for a long time. And we're seeing that, which is kind of sad in a way because, I think back, especially shortly after the pandemic started, we started seeing a lot of nurses, for example, leave the healthcare profession and go work at Target or Uber or wherever and cobble together an income stream where they would be able to make enough money to live. We're losing key people and key roles to take on roles that I'm not going to say that are below them, but are at a lower skill set than they have. So society loses when that happens. Instead, how do we make it where that nurse works in an environment? It's going to be challenging. I'm not saying healthcare is not challenging. I worked in it for 15 years. Whew, challenging environment. But so is legal, so is finance, so is construction, so is retail. There's always challenging situations going around. So the challenge we face is, in spite of those things, how do we still navigate things? And an interview I had just actually this week with Kate Lowry that's coming up. We talked quite a bit about how to work in a toxic work environment because a lot of the talk I see, and including myself, a lot of times is geared towards update resume, doc, and get the heck out of that situation. But as we know, you leave one cesspool and you find yourself in another organization that is similar. There's just a lot of bad management going on right now, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. And I'll write an article or do an episode on that, on the multiple reasons why there's bad management out there. I'm not saying it's not the manager's fault, but I'm kind of saying it's not the manager's fault. So that probably is going to stew with you a bit, but you'll understand why when I frame that out. But it's a situation where you learn how to be resilient. You learn how to take care of yourself. Quoting Michael Hyatt during the Great Recession, he says, "I'm not going to participate in the recession." And like, yeah, but we're in a recession. He says, "I'm not participating in it. I'm going to make my own economy." And everybody does. What you earn and what you do and how you spend your money and what you spend your money on, that's your own economy. Completely exclusive to whatever the bozos in Washington, D.C., or in whatever country you happen to be in, whatever they do. And they're all bozos. I say it all to their face, politely, of course, because they're a human being and I don't want to insult them. But right now, I'm just going to call them, they're acting like bozos. They are not bozos. Well, maybe a couple of them, but they're acting like bozos, aka clowns. I met Bozo the clown when I was a kid. There's a picture somewhere around. I don't know if it's still online anywhere. I'm sure in the depths of the internet, I'm sure there's a picture of little Mike and Bozo the clown at the grocery store that I worked at for several years, and also probably in the too much information department. The grocery store where my mom's water broke when it was time for me to show up. So I've got a deep connection to that grocery store. It's no longer owned by that family. It's a different chain now, but um, it's good times there. But ultimately, it boils down to this: whether you leave a company or you stay at a company that's not bad or not great for you, there are ways to navigate around it and kind of ease the stress a little bit. So when that interview goes live, make sure you definitely check that out. And there's actually the end of October, Kate's got a book coming out, and I highly recommend you get that. I'll try to put that back into the show notes here after I update on the YouTube. So make sure if you're catching me there, I'll update the notes momentarily. If you're watching this on other platforms, head over to the YouTube channel. You can skim down and see what's going on there. So, I want to keep this short because time is one of those commodities that we do not get back when we spend it. So, I appreciate you taking a moment, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on repeat. Turn the speed to 2x. Hopefully, you'll understand me. If not, try 1.5. It's a life hack thing for me. I watch all kinds of stuff, especially if it's recorded. Kind of hard to do it live, but if I watch something that's recorded, if at all possible, I try to watch it at 2x speed. Why? Because you watch it in half the time. What does that allow you to do? It allows you to get twice as much done in the same amount of time. But it takes some effort. You have to train yourself to listen and hear things. And do I miss some stuff? Yeah. But if I can pick up 75 or 80% of the message, good enough for the people I hang out with. So I wish you an amazing weekend. Do your best to take care of you, toss in some leisure, enjoy some stuff. It's college football season in the States. So watch some college football. And of course, the National Football League is up and running, and hockey's not too far behind, and neither is basketball. And of course, Major League Baseball is doing its thing. And maybe you're a Premier League fan, you know, deep in or early in, I should say, into the season on that. So go Liverpool. Hopefully, you're not a Man U fan. You're going to hate me for that. But I want Man U to be better. I really do. The world is better when Man U is, at the top of the game. Just like the world is better when the New York Yankees are at the top of their game. Yeah, there's a lot of people that love them, a lot of people do not. But in the sporting world, when the evil empire is really good, what does that do? That forces everybody up to level up and try to get there and beat them. And when they do, they really celebrate. But it forces people to be better. So I celebrate those challenging organizations that make us yell and scream at our television and all that. So, again, have a great weekend. Be yourself, figure out who you are, be the best version of you. And until next time, be well.